What is a good SAT score? This question plagues so many students, whether you're wondering what score to aim for while studying, what your score on a practice test meant, what score you should be looking to get on an upcoming SAT. This question is a big one and it's hard to answer, but I'm going to give you some real numbers in this video that you can apply when you're comparing them to your own test scores. What are some other scores that students are getting around you? What score do you need to get into your dream college? These are some questions that I'm going to help you answer in this video. So sit tight and keep listening. So one thing that people really talk about when they're deciding whether their SAT score is actually any good is percentiles. And you take an SAT or a PSAT, then College Board will give you percentiles for how you score compared to other students nationally. However, for a variety of reasons, those percentiles might not be applicable to you. For example, you were a 10th grader taking the SAT, and therefore your scores were compared to a 12th grader, which isn't really fair. Maybe your school doesn't report the average SAT score at that school, so it doesn't make that much difference to you. There's a variety of reasons why you might want to consider other things that might make your score good or not. So I'm going to go through the percentiles the College Board has released quickly. Generally, people would say that if you score in like the top 3% or so, that's like Ivy League, Ivy Plus level. If you score in the top 10%, it's very, very good. You'll be able to get into your flagship state schools. Even with a 75th percentile score or above, then you might be able to as well. If you score a 50 percentile, maybe I've used the term fair, it's baseline and you have a lot of chances in order to be able to improve, but even that score alone will give you a great shot in getting into college. So let's look at those percentiles really quickly. So here we have the percentiles that have been released by College Board, the SAT nationally representative, and user percentiles. The nationally representative percentiles have been adjusted for all students, even those who haven't taken the SAT, and then the user group is for students who have taken the SAT in the last 3 years. The numbers I previously mentioned, let's just go ahead and look through them. You can see 1600, of course, it's 99 plus percentile, best score you can get on the SAT. 97th percentile is going to be for the user group percentile, around that upper 400s area. If you're looking for Ivy League institutions, that's kind of your lower bar. If you are looking for a score in the 90 percentile, just giving you a really great shot at all the universities nearby, then this mid to upper 7 or 1300 score is going to be great. If you are looking for a score in the 75th percentile, right, you're scoring better than 3 out of 4 students, then you're going to be looking here in the upper 1100s, lower 1200s. And for the average score, that's going to be 1010 across both user percentiles. And notice there's only a 150 point gap between that and the 75th percentile, so it's not a whole lot of work to work yourself up there. And then the 25th percentile is 875, which is around the benchmark score for the SAT. You can also see down here the section scores, which you can see consistently students score higher in math, as indicated by higher percentiles in the reading and writing section, or higher for longer in those upper scores. You can see 97 percentiles lower, 700s for both sections. The 90 percentile is going to be upper 600s for both sections. The 75th percentile is upper 500s for both sections. The 50 percentile is going to be lower 500s to upper 400s, and your benchmark or your 25th percentile score is going to be approximately in the lower 400s. So hopefully that helps you. So now let's go ahead and quickly review the percentiles for students who are not yet taking the SAT as an 11th or 12th grader, for students who are taking the PSAT, maybe in 10th or 11th grade, but potentially earlier as well. So this is the PSAT NMSQT nationally representative and user percentiles. You have for 10th and 11th grade. I'm not going to cover 8th and 9th grade here. Comment below if you want to see that later on. But these are the majority of the test takers who are going to be taking it. Again, you can see any score that's in the upper 400s is really considered to be in the 99th percentile for any of these groups. This is generally going to be the score that people are getting if they're getting national merit as well. From there, you can see it drops fairly quickly for 11th graders, looking at the 97th percentile around an early 1400, but still maintains and continues to be very, very high for 10th graders. You don't see the 97th percentile until around 100 points below that of 11th graders in the early 1300s. The 90th percentile for 11th graders is early 1200s, and 90th percentile is fairly similar for 10th graders as well. At this point, students' scores are matching a little bit better than those upper scores. The 75th percentile is upper thousands for 11th graders and mid 1000s for 10th. Your 50 percentile for 11th grade students is mid 900s, and it's lower 900s for 10th. And then finally, your 25th percentile score is mid 800s for 11th grade students and upper 700s for 10th grade students. So hopefully that gives you a good idea of what a good SAT score might be. An extremely good SAT score might be one in the 97th percentile or above, which is upper 1400s for 11th and 12th grade students. A great SAT score would be one that's in the 90th percentile or above, around the mid 1300s or so. A good SAT score would be one in the mid 1100s, in the 75th percentile. A okay or a fair SAT score might be one that's around 1,000. And then if you need a little bit more work, anything below that. But you should be able to fairly quickly boost your percentile score when you're scoring in those middle ranges or even in those lower ranges, because there's just a lot of content that you haven't learned and haven't mastered that quickly reviewing or learning will allow you to increase your score on, unlike if you were at the very bottom or the very top of those ranges. But wait, there's still more that goes into what a good SAT score is, because ultimately when colleges are looking at their score, they're not necessarily looking at it in terms of percentiles, because everybody who applies to an Ivy League school just about has a score in the top 5 percentile. It's not that impressive for students to have a 99 percentile score. And so you have to consider your scores within context. That means multiple different things. If your school, on average, scores significantly lower than the nation, then Ivy League or any college in general isn't going to expect you to have an extremely high SAT score, not to the level that their other applicants might, because there probably are just less resources that enable you to study and get a good score at your school. Likewise, if you are an international student, they're not going to expect you to have a perfect English score, because they're taking that into account and contextualizing and realizing maybe you're not going to be able to get upper 700s level. Generally, a number I have heard before is they're looking for a score maybe in the mid 600s, but they want to make sure you have the TOEFL exam as well. So understand that colleges are considering things with context. So just because you don't have tutoring resources available to you, just because you might have some disadvantage, doesn't mean that you're automatically disqualified from getting into schools based on your SAT score. Additionally, a good score depends on the institutions you're applying to. Generally, a good score for the school would be something that's in the 75th percentile or above. That's going to give you a stronger chance of being admitted. Your goal score, which is like just average across the school, is going to be between the 25th and the 75th percentile. And then a poorer score is going to be below the 25th percentile for that school, at which point you might consider applying test optional. Or if there is a piece of evidence that can be contextualized to explain why your score is lower, you might still choose to submit your scores as well. If you're wondering what the ACT and SAT percentiles are the colleges that you're applying to. You can check out their websites because the majority of colleges publish that information, what the 25th, what the 50, and what the 75th percentile are, in addition to what scores you need to be considered for merit scholarships, which is also another important consideration when trying to get a good score. So I hope that video helped you figure out what a good score is, both in the context of the nation, the context of your own school personally, and the context of the colleges that you might be applying to. If you don't know where you're going to apply to college yet, a good baseline would be aiming for a score in the 75th percentile. If you don't know what college you're applying to, but you are trying to get to, say, the best school in your state, maybe aiming for one more in the 90th percentile. Additionally, if you're trying to apply for merit scholarships, aiming for a higher score is better too. But a lot of it just depends on the school that you attend and how many resources are available to you in order to study and prepare for your exam, and also what colleges you do want to apply to. So it's important to pin down those schools as early as possible. That way you can save yourself a ton of time studying if your score is already good enough, or you don't have to study last minute because you need to improve your score. If you enjoyed this video, then please like and subscribe, and check out the other great videos I have on my YouTube channel talking about how you can maximize your SAT score. I had a 1570 total, which is in the 99th plus percentile, a 780 on math, and a 790 on English. If you have any requests for future videos, please put this in the comments below because I will make videos to your request. And don't forget that this is also part of my college application process, and I really appreciate it when you engage with my channel because it makes it a bigger part of my college application and the activities section. So with that said, thank you guys so much for watching. I hope this video helped you understand what score you should be aiming for, what a good score is, and helped to prepare you for both your next SAT and give you some peace as you're preparing for college. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you again soon.